right, we're in the home stretch. This is the last part of Harrison Bergeron, or Bergeron. I don't know how to pronounce that name. The music began. It was normal at first. Cheap, silly, false. But Harrison snatched two musicians from their chairs, waved them like batons, and he sang the music as he wanted it played. He slammed them back into their chairs. The music began again, and was much improved. Harrison and his empress merely listened to the music for a while, listened gravely, as though synchronizing their heartbeats with it. Then they shifted their weights to their toes. Harrison placed his big hands on the girl's tiny waist, letting her sense the weightlessness that would soon be hers. And then, in an explosion of joy and grace, into the air they sprang. Not only were the laws of the land abandoned, but the laws of gravity and the laws of motion as well. They reeled, whirled, swiveled, flounced, capered, gambled, and spun. They leaped like deer on the moon. The studio ceiling was 30 feet high, but each leap brought the dancers nearer to it. It became obvious that their intention was to kiss the ceiling. They kissed it, and then, neutralizing gravity with love and pure will, they remained suspended in air, inches below the ceiling, and they kissed each other for a long, long time. It was then that Diana Moon Glampers, the handicapper general, came into the studio with a double-barreled 10-gauge shotgun. She fired twice, and the emperor and the empress were dead before they hit the floor. Diana Moon Glampers loaded the gun again. She aimed it at the musicians and told them that they had 10 seconds to get their handicaps back on. It was then that the Bergeron's television tube burned out. All right, pause real quick. Why do you think that she just shot the emperor and the empress? What did they do that they weren't allowed to do? Crazy, right? Hazel turned to comment about the blackout to George, but George had gone out into the kitchen for a can of beer. George came back in with the beer, paused while a handicap signal shook him up, and then he sat down again. "You've been crying," he said to Hazel. "Yep," she said. "Remind me, but I think their son just got killed. Does their reaction seem normal?" "What about?" he said. "I forget," she said. "Something real sad on television." "What was it?" he said. "It's all kind of mixed up in my mind," said Hazel. "Forget sad things," said George. "I always do," said Hazel. "That's my girl," said George. He winced. There was the sound of a riveting gun in his head. "Gee, I could tell that was a doozy." "You can say that again," said George. "Gee," said Hazel. "I could tell that one was a doozy." And then this is the final byline, that it was copyrighted by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. in 1961. So this story was written 60, 80 years ago. Long time. Yeah. So, this is quite a dystopia, isn't it? I got a couple questions for you to think about here at the end. First, did these people succeed in making a world that was fair and everybody was equal? Might say they did. I mean, everybody is equal. I guess that's fair. But do the people in this world seem happy? That one I don't think. These people seem either confused or miserable, don't they? Would you want to live in a dystopian world like this? Why or why not? Something to think about. Whenever we read a story, we kind of want to think about and connect ourselves to that world. Would you want to spend any amount of time here? I wouldn't, personally. And finally, this is a question just for you to think about. What talent do you have that you think that the people in this world might try to take away from you? And how do you think they tried to make you equal and take away that talent? That's an interesting one. I like to draw in my spare time, so maybe I have to wear some sort of glove that makes it difficult to move my fingers. If you like playing video games, maybe they give you a controller where the batteries die all the time. I bet you could probably think of an interesting counter to your talents. So it's something to think about. This is a fun story. It's kind of dark, but it's also got kind of a sense of humor to it, because when you make everybody equal, you make nobody happy. And I think Kurt Vonnegut does a good job of explaining that in the story.